High above the bustling city streets, a small, carefully constructed nest lay hidden. Inside this cozy haven, a single, perfect egg rested. This tiny oval held an immense secret, a promise of new life. Within its fragile shell, a little pigeon was beginning its journey. The parent pigeons watched over it with gentle, devoted eyes. The air around the nest was often filled with the sounds of the city, yet for the unhatched chick, these noises were just distant rumbles. Its world was the gentle warmth provided by its parents. They took turns sitting on the egg, a constant loving presence. This warmth was vital. It helped the tiny life inside to grow stronger each day. The shell, though thin, was a fortress. It protected the developing bird from the cool spring breezes and the occasional raindrop. Life was quietly, miraculously unfolding. Days turned into nights and nights into days. The parent pigeons were ever patient. They knew this was a time for waiting. They brought soft materials to reinforce the nest, making it even more secure. Sometimes one parent would gently nudge the egg, as if to check on the precious life within. The moment of emergence was drawing closer with every passing hour, a new chapter waiting to be written. One quiet morning, a faint tapping sound could be heard. Tap, tap, tap. The sound came from inside the precious egg. The little pigeon, now fully formed, was ready to meet the world. It was using a tiny sharp point on its beak called an egg tooth. With great effort, the chick began to chip away at its shell. This was its first big challenge, a struggle for freedom. The strong shell that had protected it for so long was now a barrier to overcome. The tapping became more insistent. Small cracks started to appear on the smooth surface of the egg. The parent pigeons watched with keen interest. They chirped softly, perhaps offering encouragement. The little chick inside paused often. Breaking out of an egg is tiring work for such a small creature. It had to gather its strength for each new push. Slowly, a small hole appeared. Through it, the chick could perhaps sense a change in light. With renewed determination, it pushed and pecked. The hole grew larger. A tiny wet beak poked through, then a small part of its head. The chick was exhausted but relentless. Finally, with one last mighty effort, the chick pushed a large piece of shell away. It tumbled out, damp and weak, into the soft lining of the nest. The little pigeon was free at last. The newly hatched pigeon, now called a squab, was utterly helpless. Its eyes were sealed shut, and its tiny body was almost featherless, covered only in a sparse yellow down. It could not stand or walk. Its head wobbled unsteadily on a thin neck. Its first instinct was to seek warmth and food. It lay huddled in the nest, a tiny, vulnerable creature entirely dependent on its parents. Hunger was a constant companion for the little squab. It had used up all the nourishment from the egg yolk. Now it needed its parents to provide food. When a parent bird approached the nest, the squab would sense its presence. It would open its tiny beak wide, cheeping weakly. The parents responded with incredible care. They produced a special substance called crop milk. This nutritious liquid was perfect for the young bird. Feeding was a gentle, careful process, ensuring the squab got all it needed to grow. Keeping warm was another major challenge. Without proper feathers, the squab could easily get cold. The parent pigeons understood this perfectly. Section 4. Wings of Love. Unwavering parental devotion. The parent pigeons were models of dedication. Their lives now revolved entirely around their tiny offspring. They worked tirelessly as a team. One parent would often stay at the nest, guarding and warming the squab. The other would fly off in search of food. Finding enough sustenance for a rapidly growing chick was a demanding task. They searched for seeds, grains, and tiny scraps left by humans. Each morsel they found was brought back to the nest. Feeding time was a remarkable sight. The parent pigeon would take the squab's small beak into its own. Then it would regurgitate the crop milk directly into the young bird's mouth. This pigeon's milk is incredibly rich in protein and fat. It is the perfect first food, helping the squab to grow quickly. The little bird would gulp it down eagerly. As it grew older, its parents would start to introduce partially digested seeds. This gradual change in diet prepared the squab for adult food. The bond formed during these feeding sessions was strong and vital. Cleanliness was also important. The parents diligently kept the nest tidy. Section 5. A glimpse of the world. Tiny, curious explorations. As days turned into weeks, the little squab grew rapidly. The sparse yellow down was gradually replaced by soft grey pin feathers. These were the beginnings of its adult plumage. Its eyes, once sealed, were now wide open, dark and curious. It could see the world around it more clearly. The wobbly neck grew stronger and it could hold its head up with more confidence. It started to move around the nest a little more, exploring its small domain. The edge of the nest, once a terrifying drop, now beckoned with intrigue. The squab began to notice things beyond the immediate confines of its home. It saw its parents flying to and fro, graceful and effortless. It watched other birds soaring in the sky. These sights sparked a new kind of awareness. The vast expanse of blue above seemed to call to it. It would crane its neck, trying to see more of this exciting world. The sounds of the city, once just a confusing noise, started to become more distinct. It could hear the chirping of sparrows and the distant rumble of traffic. Curiosity began to outweigh its initial timidity. Section 6. The Call of the Sky, Summoning Inner Courage. The young pigeon was now almost fully grown. Its pin feathers had unfurled into a smooth coat of grey and iridescent plumage, much like its parents. It was nearly the same size as them. The nest, once spacious, now felt rather cramped. The urge to fly became stronger with each passing day. It would stand at the edge of the ledge, looking out at the open sky. It watched its parents take off and land with such ease. It longed to join them, to feel the wind beneath its own wings. But there was also a natural hesitation, a fear of the unknown. The moment of the first flight is a critical one for any young bird. It is a leap of faith into a new dimension of life. The young pigeon would often stretch its wings, feeling their span and strength. It would perform vigorous flapping exercises, sometimes lifting its feet slightly off the nest floor. These were practice runs, building confidence and muscle memory. Its parents seemed to understand the internal struggle. They would often fly past the nest, calling out with encouraging coos. They were showing the way, inviting their offspring to join them in the air. Section 7. First flight, embracing a new beginning. With a final, powerful push from its legs, the young pigeon launched itself into the air. For a terrifying second, it dipped downwards. Its heart must have been pounding, but then instinct took over. Its wings, now strong and capable, caught the air. They beat with a steady rhythm. Clumsy at first, then more assured. It was flying. It was actually flying. The sensation must have been exhilarating, a mixture of fear and pure joy. The ground rushed away beneath it. The city spread out like a giant patterned carpet. The first flight was not long or particularly graceful. It was a wobbly, flapping journey to a nearby rooftop, but it was a monumental achievement. The young pigeon landed a little unsteadily, its legs still adjusting to this new way of arriving somewhere. It stood there for a moment, perhaps a little stunned by its own bravery. Its parents quickly flew over to join it, cooing proudly. They had successfully guided another life into the vastness of the sky. This was a moment of triumph for the entire family. The world looked entirely different from this new perspective. No longer confined to the nest, the young pigeon could see so much more.